I'm Dr. Munendra Kumar, presently working as Associate Professor in the Department of Animal Nutrition, College of Veterinary Science and Animal Husbandry, Duasu, Mathura. On behalf of NADCL and myself, I would like to introduce today's second expert, Dr. Nagaratna Biradar Madam. Madam has excellent research record. Few important things I would like to share with you. She is currently working as principal scientist and office in charge at ICAR, Indian Grassland and Fodder Research Institute, Southern Regional Research Station, Dharwad, Karnataka. She is gold medalist from University of Agricultural Science, Dharwad, and managed Hyderabad respectively during UG and PG programs. Madam secured second rank in All India Agricultural Research Services examination meant for the recruitment of agriculture scientists of ICAR. She has over 25 years of research experience with specialization in agriculture extension. She assessed an outstanding 8 times in her career and also awarded Best Scientist Award by ICARI, Indian Grassland Fodder Research Institute, headquarters Jhansi. So far handled 18 research projects funded by national and international funding agencies. Until now, Madam has supervised 11 master's students and 2 doctorate students. Madam is well-known face and invited to share her research work on hearty pasture system by International Grassland Congress held in different parts of the globe like Australia, China, and Argentina. Apart from this, Madam has delivered several talks on forest technologies for livestock development in different national forums. Till now, she has published more than 50 research articles in high-reputed journals with average NAS rating of more than 6. I am highly thankful to Dr. Nagaratna Biradar Madam for agreeing to deliver today's expert lecture on the topic entitled Kangayam and Amrit Mahal, Grassland of Southern India, Opportunities and Challenges. Thank you very much, Madam, once again.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for taking out your time to introduce me. And it was indeed, I don't deserve so much of this one. However, I will start with my topic, that is Kangayam and Amrit Mahal grasslands of South India, opportunities and challenges. The purpose of selecting this particular topic is that many of us, many researchers across the country, they talk a lot about the cultivated fodder crops. They are very well versed with the cultivated forest technologies. Though my institute is having grassland as one of the mandate, even there, I would say that the experiments related to the grasslands are restricted only to the research fields. We have not even familiar with the different grasslands of the country. The Banni grasslands, which is located in Gujarat, is considered as one of the finest grasslands in Southeast Asia. This fact is not known to many of the agricultural researchers. My topic, I would justify if all the trainees get familiarized with what are the Kangayam grasslands and Amrit Mahal grasslands. I'm not going deep into the technical part of it. However, as a social scientist, these 2 grasslands have been surveyed by me over 20 years, and I would like to just introduce these 2 grasslands to all of you. But why we are talking so much about the grasslands? Why they are so important? The first thing is, the moment you say grasslands, what appears in our mind is they are wastelands. Nothing is grown there. Not only with the researchers, even with all the development organizations, policy makers, everyone say that the grasslands means they are the wastelands. And we will, in the next slide, we'll see what are the benefits of having grasslands. Many times, the policy makers thinking that they are wastelands, they start with raising lot of trees there. But grasslands as well as forest, these two are totally different ecosystems, and they play a totally different roles in our ecosystem. Because these grasslands are considered as wastelands, India, even after so many years of independence, has not having grassland policy in the country, a rangeland policy in the country. It's difficult to understand what makes our country to stop not to have the grassland policy in the country. So there is no any legal protection to the grasslands in our country. But back in many other countries, especially in the European countries, where their economy is totally dependent on the grasslands, they have many legislations. Take, for example, the country next to us, the China. It has beautifully designed the grassland policy. Not just it has got a grassland policy in place, but it literally implements those policies in the field. But in our country, still the elected representatives are not sensitive about the importance of having grassland policy in the country. Worldwide, the grassland supports nearly 800 million people. In my own country, there are 12 million hectare land is under grasslands. 12 million hectare land is under grassland, and ours is a very populated country. So you can imagine how many people are dependent on these grasslands for their livelihood. But there is not much effort from the government organizations, and I would say even from the research institutes, the importance that should have been given to the grasslands have not been given. What functions they do it? It's the grasslands are not just simply the places where the animals, they just graze and they come back. No, they have different ecological roles to play with. The first and foremost is the water filtration. Second one is they make rainwater to run slowly. Because of this function, the water gets infiltrated into the groundwater. There will not be any the soil erosion. They contain the soil. They contain the soil erosion aspect. The third thing is the grasses have got a deep root systems, and also the root biomass of the grass is usually high compared to the food crops. Because of higher root biomass of the grasses, the soil gets good organic matter content. So grasslands add organic matter to the soil. Because of this nature, there will be good vegetation. They act as a biodiversity hotspots. They ensure good fertility of the soil. I have not listed here one point, that is, these grasslands are the places where we can see a diverse fauna, diverse flora. Many of the birds, they select grassland to lay the eggs there. So grasslands are not just grasses, a place where the grass grows, but they have lot of ecological services. They provide lot of avenues to tackle climate change. Apart from these ecological aspects, these grasslands, they do have a cultural connection with lot of the people living there who are basically a livestock dependent communities. India has got many grasslands all over the country. Every grassland is maintained differently. Every grassland is administratively controlled differently. But today, I am introducing you two grasslands which are having totally a contrasting management system. The first one is Kangayam grasslands. See, this Kangayam grassland, the uniqueness of this Kangayam grassland is these grasslands are not owned by the government. These grasslands are not owned by the cooperative sectors. These grasslands are not owned by the animal husbandry departments. These grasslands are not owned by the forest departments. These grasslands are owned by the farmers. I'm sure those who are not staying in the Tamil Nadu, who are non-Tamilian persons, are not knowing that India owns the grasslands which are owned by the farmers. Let us see how these farmers managed grasslands thrived over 100 years. First thing is, here it is located. In which part of the Tamil Nadu these grasslands are located? These grasslands, the beautiful grasslands, are located in 3 districts of Tamil Nadu: Coimbatore, Erode, and Karur district of Tamil Nadu. And approximately 4,000 square kilometer area comes under these grasslands. So 4,000 square kilometer area of grasslands are owned by the farmers, are managed by the farmers over 100 years. In this grassland area, see, India is having its own land use classification method. You all may be aware about it. There are 7 types of land, 7 categories in the land use classification data. In that you will find that common lands, cultivable waste, forest land, things like that. But where Kangayam grasslands are spread, in those areas, you don't find no common lands. Not even inch of the land is under cultivable waste. There are no forest lands. Why forest land is not there? Because in these districts, the land is very dry land. There are no evergreen hills there. Though it comes under rain shadow area, there are some hills, but still no, the hills are not having good dense of trees. In this part, not even an inch of land is categorized under common lands or cultivable waste or forest land. All land is privately owned. But owning these grasslands, how the farmers are making a living? How are they able to do it? Do they grow cotton? Do they cultivate sugarcane or maize? No, none of the food crops. Here, for the farmers, the grass is the main crop, not any other food crops. Grass is the main crop. And livestock rearing is the main livelihood activity. Imagine what a wonderful combination. You don't, in these regions, if you enter, you don't find even a single pesticide selling company. You don't find roaring business of the fertilizer companies in these districts. But these grasslands are part of our own country, which we are not aware of. Even after their existence for over 100 years, hardly little work has been done. And most of the work is from the socio-economic dimension. None of the technologies developed at the research institute in their own experimental farm have reached here. So, these are the very virgin grasslands, we can say. Let us see what are the grasses that are part of these grasslands. There are many number of grasses, but mostly they are dominated with Cenchrus celeris and Cenchrus setigerus. These two grasses are known for tolerant to drought. They are known for tolerant to grazing. Why grazing tolerance is important? It's important because farmers of this region, they rear the livestock not for following the cut and carry system. They raise the livestock not under stall feeding conditions. They just allow the animals to graze in their grasslands. So, animals in Kangayam grasslands are very happy animals. They are not tied 24 hours. They are just allowed to graze the native grasses. Cenchrus celeris and Cenchrus setigerus, both are range grasses and known for good taste. They are palatable. These two provide carbohydrates. How do the farmers match the protein component of the livestock? Over the years, with their own traditional knowledge, they have learned that introducing legume component enriches the forage quality. So, whenever rain comes, they will broadcast the seed of one pulse that is locally called as pilli pesaru, and its scientific name is Phaseolus trilobus. So every year, whenever they receive the rain, they will just broadcast the seed of this legume crop. But if they leave the animals in their field, animals may go or tend to cross the farmer field boundaries and it may go to the other field. We see this as a problem in Uttar Pradesh. The problem is called as Anna Pratha. Means the farmers, they just leave their animals during summer season and animals will just enter any other field and they graze and come back. That is the biggest issue in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, especially in the Bundelkhand region. But here in Kangayam, every field is having its own life fence. Every field. You can see in the picture, it's a satellite picture, how the life fence is existed around every field. Around every field, there is a life fence. Isn't it a beautiful way of managing grasslands? With what they are fencing? They are fencing it with the one thorny shrub called as balsamodendron berry. It's a thorny shrub. Beautifully they lay it. This life fence definitely requires some management. That part we will see in the next slides. But while animals will be grazing in the grasslands, they do require water. They do need some shade to take rest. So, for every grassland, for every patch of the grassland, the farmers have interspersed with the acacia tree. Acacia lycos. There are many tree species, but dominated by this Acacia lycosophylla. In this satellite picture, you can just see how the trees are interspersed. Every 1 acre of grassland has got minimum 6 to 8 trees in the field. So, Kangayam grassland has got a lot of uniqueness. The virgin grasslands of 100 years old. And if work is done, they will definitely get geographical indicator. Definitely they will get. Some of you who would like to pursue this, you can please go ahead, study it further, try for applying for geographical indication. Why I am not doing it? That could be your question. The question here is, I have put up already 30 years of service. I am left with only few more years of service. Let this opportunity would be exploited by some youngsters. Some of you may think of applying for the geographical indication. However, I am always there for the guidance. I mentioned that the farmers in this region, they don't go for cut and carry system. They don't stall feed their animals. They just let the animals to graze in their privately owned grasslands. So what percentage of the fodder is met from the grasslands? That's very important. Okay, we have let the animals, whether it eats or not, that is not our concern. That should not be our approach. In this paragraph, you can just see that nearly 90 respondents, they said that 90% of the feed requirement of the animal is met by these grasslands. You can just see in the picture how beautifully the grass has grown. And you can also see in the background the trees. The pods of these trees, the leaves of these trees are also used for feeding to the animals. What kinds of livestock is composed in that area? They have large ruminants as well as small ruminants. But the beauty is that The research institutes, they work on carrying capacity of grasslands, the optimal carrying capacity of the grasslands. How many animals we can live or we can allow in 1 hectare of grassland. The recommended carrying capacity of grasslands in India is 1 adult cattle units per hectare. Many times we say that, okay, if you are growing some good grasses, you can even leave some 2 to 3. But 1 is always optimal. In this table, you can just see the last column where I have mentioned the adult cattle units per hectare. In all the districts, it is less than 1 hectare. Very optimum carrying capacity, which is in line with the scientific recommendation. That means farmers in these regions are as good as scientists. Scientists by experience, scientists by life lessons. So their carrying capacity is 1 hectare. Isn't it a mind-blowing? Isn't it a beautiful finding? Because they are able to maintain the optimum carrying capacity, the grasslands have sustained over 100 years, beyond 100 years. Coming to the social structure, we know how Indian population is booming. You all agree with it. We are, since childhood, we are just hearing about population explosion everywhere in the country. Look at the social structure in Kangayam grasslands. The graph in this slide shows the family size. Family size means husband, wife, and children over 3 generations, G1, G2, and G3. Over 3 generations, they have maintained a very small family size. 1 children in most of the cases, and only in some cases 2 children. Because of this, because of maintaining very uniform family size, maintaining in the sense consciously they have maintained. They are well aware that whatever I get from my farm, I should be able to sustain my family. So over 3 generations, you can see the family size. And what about male and female ratio? Many parts of the country where literacy rate is high, even there we find the imbalanced gender ratio. But in this part, the farmers have maintained very balanced female and male ratio. You can see in the from 1931, 1991, and 2001. The study was conducted by us in the year 2002 and 2003. And 2024, again, I went after 20 years just to see the changes, and that I'll come at the later stage of this one. So these grasslands are very balanced ecologically. They're very balanced socially also. the last slide for the Kangayam grasslands. I forgot to mention you that in the livestock composition, coming to the small ruminants, many farmers, many villages have socially restricted goats rearing. The reason behind this is goats tend to damage the ecological system. People may agree or not. The point what I want to make here is even the minor details are observed by the farmers. They are discussing it and agreeing upon it. That is more important. If all the villagers decide, no, we are not going for the goats, yes, they are following it. Sheep rearing is encouraged. There are two breeds of sheep. The one is Coimbatore sheep and second one is Mecheri sheep. And the large ruminants are usually reared by the farmers of this region. Another beauty here is they follow the paddock system. For example, the farmer is having 2 acres of the grasslands. He doesn't let animals to graze in all the 2 acres at a time. No, he divides these 2 acres into 4 parts. And in one part, first he leaves these animals. After all the grass is grazed, then he moves the animals to the second part. So the paddock system of grazing, which is always recommended as a scientific recommendation, is followed by the farmers of this region. So they follow the rotational grazing. They have a beautiful life fence. They maintain small family size. They add a legume component to the grasslands. All this, and they maintain optimal grazing pressure, that is carrying capacity. All this system, which a scientist dreams of having it, or dreams to transfer these things to the farm, to the end users, is already existing just because of one important factor, that is private ownership. These grasslands are not under public ownership. This became possible because of the private ownership. As a result, these landscapes are not deterred by climate change. They are not worried about the climate factors at all. With little rain, these grasses come up. Not worried about any diseases and pests. They are not worried about the chemical fertilizers. So, in our own country, we have a beautiful grassland system which is climate resilient and sustainable and worth upscaling to the other areas having same climatic factors. What proof or proven technology other than this is required in my own country? I mentioned that the study was conducted in 2002 to 2004. After 20 years, 2022 to 2024, in the same region, the same similar kind of study was conducted by me. But When I went there for the study, there was a surprise, but the surprise was not at all pleasant. Who brought this surprise? This surprise was due to the policy intervention of the government. The first thing, the main change I noticed is the live fence disappeared in 80% of the grasslands. And farmers have moved to the chain link fencing, the artificial fencing. Acceptable. It is accepted because the live fence for every 3 years it has to be managed, and the labor cost have increased almost 3 times. But the government policy is that they are giving subsidy on chain link mesh. Then the farmers thought, okay, this is more convenient, shifted. There are both pros and cons. We are not discussing those things here. But what is shocking? What was more shocking was I just mentioned in the initial stages of my presentation that grasslands means for many they are wastelands where nothing can be grown. So, country wanted self-sustainable energy sources. So the big windmills, the big companies which are into production of wind energy, they have entered these virgin grasslands. And now everywhere you can see the huge windmills. I inquired about the modus operandi of these companies. The modus operandi is they just buy their lands. That's it. It's not under lease in most of the cases. They just buy these lands. And the moment they buy these lands, you know what happens. Their main focus is on generating energy, but not about the grasslands. Sooner, if government doesn't intervene, we are going to lose these beautiful grasslands. The moment the farmers get money by selling their lands, the part of the land, what they are doing with that money? They are basically drilling the bore wells for a depth of beyond 100 meters, 1000 meters. And you would see the lot of exploitation of groundwater, the extraction of the groundwater happening. So whatever was happening in other part of the country, the same thing. The moment water comes, the irrigated crops like banana, plantation crops have invaded in these grasslands. What to do? When asked about the farmer suggestions, the one beautiful suggestion given by the farmers are, you create a separate fund at the panchayat level. Separate fund you create at a panchayat level to improve the grasslands. This is implementable suggestion, provided government takes interest in it. Now, I will move to the other grassland. The name of the grassland is Amrit Mahal grasslands. These grasslands have a history of 450 years. 450 years, and in 1956, the Karnataka government handed over these grasslands to the Department of Animal Husbandry and Veterinary Services in 1956. These grasslands are spread across 6 districts of Karnataka. 6 districts of Karnataka. But what is the extent? How much area they are spread across? They are spread across 68,000 hectares officially. 68,000 hectares is not a small area. But due to allocation of these grasslands, considered as wasteland by the government to different uses, currently the area left is 45,000 hectares. Currently, area is left under with the 45,000 hectares, and large area is there in Chitradurga districts. Large area is located in Chitradurga and followed by Chikamagaluru districts of Karnataka. I mentioned that in Kangayam, the farmers were following only grazing. But in Amrit Mahal grasslands, which is owned by the public government, the farmers are following both stall feeding and grazing. The last row you can see the grazing only is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. They are using stall feeding and grazing. But where are they grazing the animals? That is more interesting. They are not grazing in Amrit Mahal grassland alone. They are, in spite of having so much of area under grasslands, they are forced to graze their animals in the roadside, in their own harvested fields or in the fields of others, on field bunds, on tank bunds. Then what for these grasslands are there when they are not meeting the grazing requirements of the villages nearby? It is publicly owned. You can see how these grasslands appear. I have placed a picture here. Absolutely no grass there. Invaded by prosopis. This is mainly due to the difference in the ownership. Mainly due to the difference in the ownership. We have a lot of lands under grasslands. But is it helping us to meet out its purpose? Whether the very purpose of having grasslands is met with this kind of situation? Even farmers use these grasslands for grazing their animals. You can see mainly the grass is available only in rainy seasons, not in winter and summer. Hardly for 3 months or 4 months. Remaining months, nothing is available because of existence of invasive species. All the palatable grass species disappeared. No legume components. The government owns this large patch of the lands, but can inquire. Main thing is no separate fund for managing these grasslands. The moment there is a lack of ownership of grasslands, lack of sense of ownership of the grasslands, then socially it becomes very challenging. Socially it becomes very challenging to develop such grasslands. Let us accept this fact. We have to instill a sense of ownership for the grasslands. And this sense of ownership is not necessarily through transfer of right to cultivate. This sense of ownership can also be instilled through mobilization of community, through participation of the community, then making this participation institutionalization. Institutionalization of the participation is also very important. We can always instill ownership. We can tell, look, these lands are for your purpose. If you take active participation, if you are involved, then you can as well harvest good amount of grass for your animals. But currently, there are no efforts in these directions. Nothing is happening there. And they are just lying, and any time government may decide that, okay, this much of land is there, let me allocate this land for industrialization. It is possible. So some of the suggestions given by the farmers are, first thing is separate fund. Second thing is grassland users group. So many villages are dependent on that. And give the management to this grassland users group. We have seen this model working with the forest department. They have created joint forest management committees where the farmers or villagers and the forest people, they work together, they manage together. On the same line, the government can think to create grassland users group in the Amrit Mahal grasslands. Unlike farmers of Kangayam region, the farmers of this region lack awareness about importance of grassland management. Here, I mean the importance of scientific grassland management, like rotational grazing or controlled grazing or reseeding every year. The farmers, they understand that grasslands are important. They are aware about it. But what part of it they are not aware is the systematic methods to manage the grasslands. So this requires our intervention, our government intervention through the grassland users group to make them aware about the scientific grassland management. Having said this, I would like to conclude my talk saying that boldly saying that grasslands are not wastelands. When you talk about climate change, grasslands have significant role to mitigate the effects of climate change. Significant role. So, one important role is carbon sink, the carbon sequestration. The second important point for the social scientist is the connection they have with the grasslands. It's very deep rooted. Many scientists, if we are placed away from the home, we struggle. At least after entering into a particular age, we would like to come back. That is because of our connection with our land. What about the farmers who every day transact very closely with the nature around them? So, saving grasslands means you are saving the cultural heritage of the people, of the place, of the individual lives. It is high time, very important, the government puts all out effort to bring policy in place. Year 2026 is declared as International Year of Rangeland and Pastoralists. IYRP by United Nations. We have hardly one year to go. We will be entering 2026. At least before that, the government should recognize the importance of these grasslands. It should take steps in the form of the policy to protect these grasslands, to protect the utility of these grasslands in the changing climate scenario. Only 1 year is left. IGFRI as a important ICR institute organization having mandate to address the issues of the grassland has recently brought out one policy document on grasslands. Hope this is well received by the government to protect the beautiful grasslands of our country. Why to save these grasslands? These needs to be saved mainly to bring in resiliency to the climate change. Only these ecosystems, only these landscapes have the power to address the effect of climate change more efficiently than any other landscapes. The kind of opportunities these grasslands give none of the landscapes would give to address the effects of the climate change. So, by introducing these two grasslands, which are owned differently, managed differently, I hope I have brought the status, the sensitivity among all the audience of this particular training program. With this, I feel the purpose of my presentation is met. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and I hope you actively listen to my talk. I also thank the organizers, NADCF, and the University in Mathura for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts as a part of this program amongst all of you. Thank you so much.